Georgia judge now allowing Donald Trump to appeal his ruling that let DA Fani Willis stay on the 2020 election interference case. The attorney exposing Fani Willis and Nathan Wade's affair made the case for disqualification yesterday on this show.
I definitely think she could be disqualified. We've got this new commission in Georgia that's hopefully looking into this, and they could disqualify her. There's a lot of other avenues that the judge even outlined in his order. Lots of other people are looking at this. She's facing re-election. She's got 2 opponents right now. So there's a lot of other checks and balances that are in place. Plus, more information can come forward, and we are continuing to investigate.
Let's get into our own investigation with more information from Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett. Good morning to you, Greg.
Good morning, Steve.
Okay, so the judge yesterday said that the Trump team can go ahead and appeal his decision. And his decision was a couple of Fridays ago. He said, okay, one of the 2 of you, Wade or Willis, is going to have to go. And ultimately, Mr. Wade said, I'm going to step away from it. So what do you think the chances are the same judge is going to say, oh, you're right, she should be disqualified?
Well, I think the judge said in his ruling that Trump's due process rights are important enough for a higher court review. I suspect Judge McAfee also realized the frailty of his half decision. And he found both Willis and Wade engaged in the same wrongful conduct, and they did it together, but only one of them was forced to leave. That doesn't remedy the appearance of impropriety that the judge said infects the prosecution team. And between the 2 of them, it should have been Willis who got kicked off the case because as the DA and his boss, she had a greater ethical duty.
Today is bad news for Fani Willis, and we love starting a show like that. Today is Thursday, March 21st, 2024. A judge is allowing Donald Trump, in fact, ordering Donald Trump to appeal his ruling, deciding not to disqualify Fani Willis, giving, of course, brand new life to the potential that all of this case will just go kaput and evaporate. And also, while this appeal process goes on, the case cannot go on. And so, bad news all around in Fulton County, Georgia. Bad news for the Biden crime family on Capitol Hill yesterday. We were live for 8 hours yesterday during the entire impeachment trial of Joe Biden. Hunter Biden didn't show up, but we had a number of people who did show up, and man, we have a cringe alert for you today. The salt will flow. Totally off the rails. We'll get into it. Stephen Miller joins the show today. We're very excited about that. The mastermind behind some of the greatest policies of Trump's first term, coming back for a second time. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. So, as you know, on this program, the reason we do this program is because we are fighting for a better future for all of us here in America. We want a better future for not only the people who we directly know, but for like our own families, for our own children. Like that kind of the greatest motivator in life, actually, is having children. The most pure, the purest motivator in life is actually having children. I have 3 children. Here they are. They brought me to work the other day, a very special treat for me. But did you know that the leading cause of death on Earth for the 5th consecutive year is abortion? That is something that we ardently stand against on this program. We are 100% pro-life, and we wish to provide a solution for people that think that there's, well, no solution other than the most vile and awful thing, and which would be to abort your own child. Ladies and gentlemen, that is why we're partnering with Preborn. Preborn is a network of clinics that rescues 200 babies a day. 200 babies, miraculously. They do this by providing free ultrasounds and introducing mothers to networks that can help support them. When the mother sees her precious baby on an ultrasound, the decision is made, right? It's like it's something spiritual. It's actually the miracle of life brought through science and then through the generosity of people who are supporting Preborn, ladies and gentlemen. We encourage you to support Preborn. Help save another baby. Dial pound 250 and say the word baby. That's pound 250 and say the word baby to donate securely at preborn.com/Benny. That's preborn.com/Benny. You can do either. Ladies and gentlemen, we love working with partners that we truly believe in. This is something that obviously pulls at my heart as a father every single day. We want to provide as much as we possibly can for those in need. And so, ladies and gentlemen, preborn is it. So our motivation, obviously, is driving towards a better country, a freer country, and a country that you actually want to live in. Everywhere you look in this nation, you see Marxism actually on display. They're trying to seize Donald Trump's buildings in New York. What is that going to do to the city of New York? Like, imagine for a second. Take Donald Trump out of it. Take Trump completely out of it. Imagine for a second you are wishing to invest your capital into a place or a nation. And that nation has as a policy that if you step outside of the political boundaries that are fashionable, that they'll just take all your stuff. Are you going to invest in that place? Like, would you open up and invest in that nation? Of course not. This is why property rights are so important. Like, America was founded on property rights, actually. Like, the first colonies didn't work until they decided to start giving acreages to the people that would come here in the New World. This is like, property rights is the foundation of America. The only reason to risk anything in this country is that you believe that your risk is going to be protected. That what you work for, you can keep. At least in small part. The government seems to be taxing absolutely everything these days. But that's kind of the promise of a free society. That you get to keep what you work for. And that creates the most profitable economy on earth. America is the greatest economy anyone's ever seen because of those really cornerstone, instilled, like, protected rights. And now what you're seeing, what they're doing to Donald Trump, how much Donald Trump has broken these people, and you saw it on display yesterday, during the impeachment trial. During the impeachment trial of Joe Biden, man, I mean, dude, the Democrat party's had their brain broken. There's no other way to describe it. They got their brain broken. It's gone. It's gone. They are truly psychotic ex-girlfriend, text you 50 times every hour level. Deranged TDS. It makes me so very much want to shove victory down their throat, want to shove a Donald Trump victory down their throats so badly in November. I mean, it is like the driving passion of my life to have those tears flow once again. But this is why they're pulling out all the stops. States know that this is a horrible look for them. They know it, and they can't help themselves. They're going after Donald Trump's property. They're going after Donald Trump's freedoms. It's not illegal to protest an election. It's not illegal to object to election results. It's happened all throughout American history. And there have been totally messed up elections throughout American history that deserve to have somebody call in and be like, man, this looks shady as hell. Every day on this program, we cover a new criminal case where somebody has gone to jail for election fraud, for voter fraud. Not only is it happening, it's commonplace. There's a brand new one out of Wisconsin, actually, where some lady was just found guilty on all charges, going to face maximum penalty for abusing military absentee ballots in Wisconsin. I don't know if we can source that article, but it's worth just showing you. This happens every single day in every single state. There is election fraud, and oftentimes that fraud is able to rig elections. You saw this happen in Connecticut. And so Donald Trump asking about this issue in Georgia is not a crime. Even though yesterday, AOC effectively defended Donald Trump by saying RICO's not a crime. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So in Georgia, Donald Trump protesting the results of an election is not a crime. That's not how the system works. And in fact, the actual criminals are the people who are going to prison for election fraud all around the country, happening all around the country. Yes, but does it result in a bad election? Yes, it does. I can point you to New Jersey. We're becoming like the world's experts on these things. In Patterson City, New Jersey, the guy who's in charge of the city council, that dude won his office only because he stole ballots and rigged an election. He ripped open the ballots, took out the votes, he shredded the votes that didn't vote for him, and he inserted fake fraudulent ballots into those ballots. He took the votes literally from people's mailboxes. This is why mail-in voting should be illegal in all 50 states. You wouldn't have mail-in vote. You wouldn't have mail-in banking. Why would you, you wouldn't want your money to be stored in a bank in the way that they do voting. What's more valuable? I mean, what will prove, you can prove it. You can see what's happened with Joe Biden in the last 4 years. And you can understand exactly how dangerous things can get when you don't have secure elections. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, jury finds former Milwaukee election board official guilty of election fraud, guilty on all counts. She was an election official, and she was rigging elections with military ballots. People are truly evil. And so I feel like we don't talk about it enough, but it's worth noting that what they're doing in Georgia is patently and on its face going after Donald Trump because he said this election looks shady as hell. That's legal. That's protected. Speech, opinion, and protesting. And by the way, it has always been that way in America. It's always been that way. And so it's worth sort of just establishing those facts as we need to zoom out on this Fani Willis stuff, right? You got Fani Willis, you're going to have to zoom really far out. But you got to zoom out on this Fani Willis stuff. Judge is now allowing Trump and his 7 co-defendants to appeal the decision that kept Fani Willis on the Georgia election fraud case as legal drama drags on. Now, this is something wild. We had Mike Davis on this program. We had Viva Frei on this program. And we're really excited to have Stephen Miller on this program today. But Mike Davis and Viva Frei both said the same thing, that this judge was splitting baby justice, right? And what happens with King Solomon, right? You end up killing the baby, right? So this judge was trying as hard as he could to not actually make the judgment he knew he needed to make. So that's what happened here. We were very disappointed about this. We were upset about this. This is the way that it is. But the judge said, you got to fire one, you got to fire Nathan's hot dog, or you got to fire Big Fani. Of course, they fired Big Fani. Then that means the case is done forever, right? That means nobody else would ever touch it again. In the state of Georgia. Georgia is a supermajority Republican state. Republican legislature, Republican governor, and a Republican board of directors that oversees these prosecutors. And so Nathan Wade got fired. We predicted it, and by the end of the day, boom, that's exactly what happened. Nathan Wade, gone. Gone, baby. So now the judge, this same judge, Judge McAfee, is saying, nope, actually, the appeal, I don't want to be the guy, hot potato, right? Boom, hot potato. I don't want to be the guy who has to make this decision. I'm going to say, I know in my heart that what's going on here is wrong, but I'm too big of a coward to actually do it myself, to actually take my gavel and do what needs to be done with this thing and shove it sideways where the sun don't shine in the DA's office in Fulton County. I'm going to punt, which is precisely what Mike Davis told us. Judge McAfee allows the appeal of the ruling to not disqualify Fani Willis. The court will continue with the pretrial motion while the state appeals courts decide. Trump has scored a series of wins and major victories and delays on these cases. Donald Trump will be allowed to appeal federal Superior Judge Scott McAfee's decision that kept Fani Willis on the Georgia election case. McAfee issued the so-called certificate of immediate review, which allows Trump and his 7 co-defendants to appeal the ruling to the Georgia Court of Appeals before the trial begins. In a brief, the court said on Wednesday, he wrote, the request motion has been granted. In the meantime, the court will continue with the pretrial motions and housekeeping matters, so on and so forth. The judge has already struck down 6 of the charges that Big Fani brought against Donald Trump. Never a great sign. Saying these are specious, right? The judge is like, you have nothing to back these up. These are specious. We're not going to allow these. I'm not going to allow these charges in my courtroom. So now this will go to a higher power, as was predicted. Raid resigned after the case, hours after Judge McAfee's initial decision. Judge McAfee's latest ruling also applies to the Trump co-defendants who are seeking to appeal the judge's ruling. It comes days after the lawyers for Trump and co-defendants sought the appeal, in part citing the potential dishonesty in the testimony and dispute over the prosecutors began their trial. They pointed to some of McAfee's own language in the ruling, allowing Willis to stay on the case that included slamming some of the conduct as inappropriate. In its order, the court found that the district attorney's actions had created an appearance of impropriety and an odor of mendacity that lingers in the case, as the continuing possibility of an outsider could reasonably think the district attorney Willis is not exercising her independent professional judgment on any compromising influences. Yeah, an odor of mendacity. So this is, listen, man, this is really, really big news. And it's going to lead to more drama in the Fani Willis Fulton County trial. Royce, we've got to get up to Fulton County. Royce, we've got to get up there. We're going to go up there. We're going to ask people about Fani Willis. We're going to go. It's going to be the most entertaining video we've ever done in our lives. And actually, thankfully, I mean, if you're looking at like gallows humor, thankfully this continues because it's going to be really, really fun. I'm going to miss it when it's gone, actually. I'm going to miss it when it's gone. It's all going to go down in flames, but I'm going to really miss these segments, okay? Here's the reporting on the Appeals News.
Efforts to disqualify Fani Willis from the Georgia election interference case. That judge, we have just learned, has issued an order, Phil, allowing Trump and 8 co-defendants to seek appeal of the order denying disqualification of Willis. The Georgia Court of Appeals has 45 days to decide whether they will hear the case. That's obviously big news, Phil. Your reaction?
Yeah, it is big, and it's something that we've been following, of course, very closely here in the Atlanta area. The judge's order that's being appealed, in my opinion, is wrong. I think that he found, for example, that Willis wrongfully engaged in communications outside the courtroom. Basically, she went into the well of a church on Sunday, and she essentially called some of the defendants and their counsels racist, right? And so she is making public statements outside of the courtroom that are designed to impact the ability of these defendants to get a fair trial.
So here we have a situation where Fani Willis is now going to be overseen by somebody who isn't up for election in Fulton County, somebody who didn't donate to her, presumably. The judge, you might recall, worked for Fani Willis. How that's allowed to happen, I don't know. The judge donated to Fani Willis. How that's allowed to happen, I don't know. And now he's overseeing this case, and he's standing for re-election, and Fani Willis is running someone against him in Fulton County, where they have no signature verification on any of their ballots. That being one of the larger bombshells to come out of all of this. That Fulton County counted 150,000 votes without any signature verification or verification at all. So this is the operation. So now it looks like the judge is saying, I'm helpless. I'm trapped inside of this bear trap down here, and you got to help me, please. And he punts. He's allowing them to punt to the appeals court. The people who have been sort of the tip of the spear, Ashley Merchant is one of the lawyers, obviously defending Donald Trump and his team. She is victorious on all of this. She is saying this is like some of the best news. This is proving out what we've been saying in court, which is that this entire, if the judge in his ruling, can we put up the Viva Fry? The breakdown of this ruling is really important. The judge in his ruling found that there is the appearance of a conflict of interest, and Georgia law says that if there's an appearance of a conflict of interest, then it doesn't matter. You don't have to prove the conflict of interest. You just go. They can't be on the trial. So the judge effectively finds out and says that it's been proven, but I don't think he has the political will. I think that's what's going on here. I don't think he has the political will to do something about it. The judge effectively says that their conduct was inappropriate, that they effectively lied to the court, and that there's a conflict of interest here. And so by Georgia law, they have to be disqualified. Let's see if at a different court outside of sort of that, again, rat trap of Fulton County, if a different court, if a different appeals court is able to come to that conclusion, because the evidence is pretty plain and on its face. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is Miss Merchant, somebody who's provided the best some of the best content for this trial, who's been an absolute bulldog. That's a compliment in the state of Georgia on this case.
Feel that ultimately Judge McAfee's court decision saying one of the two of them has got to quit, Nathan Wade did. you've been vindicated, right?
Yes. Oh, definitely. I mean, I was called a liar so many times, but every stage of the process, I was vindicated because everything was proven in court and all of the sources of my information were finally verified. And so everyone actually finally knows that those calls of me being a liar were not accurate.
So that's good. How do you allow, if you find them both guilty, it's like two people committing a crime together. You find one guilty and one has to go to jail and the other one walks free. Like Fani Willis and Nathan's hot dog and Big Fani were found like doing a crime together, right? Lying to the court. We can detail those lies in demonstrable fashion. Like, how do you allow one side of that criminal enterprise to continue? I don't know. We'll see what the appeals court have to say about that. Fani's testimony, of course, is what the appeal said. The appeal says that Fani Willis has a odor of mendacity to her in this. And damn, they are right. Miss Merchant talking about Fani Willis bum rushing the stand in her inside out, upside down, backwards dress and an American flag that's on fire. Here we go.
So, Ashley, I have to say the whole time it was one surprise after another. From our perspective, we couldn't believe what was taking place. Fani Willis was not supposed to go on the stand. What were your thoughts when she says, obviously was going terribly in the morning. So she lines up and she just launches into that seat. What are you thinking? I know you know the case and I know why you brought it forward, and its relationship is what had this judge entertain it. So what are you thinking?
I mean, at that point, I was surprised that she came in, but I would want to defend myself if someone had made allegations that I was claiming was false. Sure. What surprised me was that she didn't bring anything to actually back it up. So if someone had accused me of wrongdoing, I'm going to bring my phone. I'm going to bring my text messages. I'm going to bring my bank records. So that surprised me that she didn't bring any actual proof. We just were stuck with her word that she paid back these transactions in cash. I would have brought transaction slips. I would have brought a lot of information if I had planned on taking the stand. But it definitely surprised me. And, we're not supposed to be watching the proceedings as a witness when they're going on. The fact that she knew exactly when to come in, I got to ask her about that on the stand, but it appeared as though she had been watching the proceedings. So that was a little bit surprising as well.
She's lied. That means she lied. She said she wasn't.
So it does mean she lied. And I know that it's like, okay, you've spent a lot of time on this. Yes. The reason why is because this is the Democrats' last hope. This is it. Everything else is stuck in the mud. Every other prosecution of Donald Trump is stuck in the mud. So sometimes you have to take a step back, zero in on a target, and really, really bear down. And this not only is it entertaining, it's such a disaster. And anybody who's watching this knows it's a disaster, including former federal prosecutors saying she's going to be removed on this appeal. There's a really good chance because once you get outside of the judge who worked for her and donated to her and the rat trap of Fulton County, then you're going to have a much clearer, breathable air on this. And you're going to be able to actually see what's going on and make these decisions with clearer eyes, I think. Have a listen.
In your professional opinion, is Fani going to get kicked off?
Well, I think this was a really important decision by the judge. And even in the judge's ruling, he had essentially suggested that the case law in Georgia was not clear about what he should do in a circumstance where he has what looks to be perjury by the district attorney. So I think it was the right decision to have this case reviewed essentially while the trial is still pending. It's not a typical move because, of course, this is something that would normally be appealed at the end of trial. But the judge was right to send this to the appellate court. I think that there is still a very good chance that the appellate court could believe that disqualification is required under these circumstances.
So we'll see, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see. We're going to have to wait and see. But there's also some other really scary guy with a big stick lingering in the woods outside of Fani Willis's house. And that is the brand new law that was just signed and put into effect in Georgia, where there is an oversight board for these prosecutors. And the oversight board is tasked with investigating rogue prosecutors and ripping them off cases and effectively disqualifying them. And so that board is now lawful, and that board is now in place in Georgia. So what will happen then? We'll see. We'll see, ladies and gentlemen. It is very important to note that with all of Fani Willis's demonstrable lies, that of course those are felonies. What are those lies? Well, ladies and gentlemen, they're almost too numerous to count, but when her relationship began with Nathan Wade, if she visited the White House, how her money laundering operation worked, all of this stuff is all lies to the court. And we've been able to prove that on this program. Fani Willis's behavior carries the odor of mendacity with it, which is obviously what the complaint filed for appeal of this decision carries with it. Imagine you are being prosecuted by somebody who behaves like this.
And where, when did he come to, I guess, the condo? I'm not sure what you called it, condo apartment. Would he come and stay at that condo or visit you there? I'm sorry, visit you there.
What condo, what apartment? I want to be clear.
So not your house. I know you classified one as house and one as condo. So I'm trying to use those terms.
So but there's been more. See, what you don't understand is because of this case, I got to move. And so I need
if you could ask a more precise question.
Yes, please give me the time period.
Mr. Wade visits you at the place you laid your head.
When?
Has he ever visited you at the place you laid your head?
So let's be clear, because you lied in this. Let me tell you which one you lied in. Right here. I think you lied right here. No. This is the truth,
Judge.
And it is a lie. It is a lie.
Ms. Will? Mr. Sena, thank you. We're going to take 5 minutes. Be back in 5.
Oh, big Fani. What would we do without the entertaining clips from the big Fani trial? Now, again, like if you're going to be a prosecutor and you're going to be prosecuting the biggest case in America, the biggest case in potentially political history, trying to put a president in jail for what? RICO charges? For free speech? For objecting to the results of an election? Which has been that's just been tradition in American history, even recent history. I bet Fani Willis voted for Stacey Abrams. Fani Willis, did you vote for Stacey Abrams? Because Stacey Abrams regularly calls herself the governor of Georgia. Stacey Abrams regularly says she's the governor. Where the hell is her RICO case? Well, Hillary Clinton regularly says that Donald Trump stole the election in 2016. Where the hell's her RICO case? Boy, it'd be nice to have a party with some testicular fortitude to just start charging Hillary Clinton. Just start charging every Democrat that said that Donald Trump stole the election or isn't the legitimate president. Just start it. Just start the prosecution. Just do it. Get them mugshots. Let's go. I want to see the Hillary Clinton mugshot. I want Hillary Clinton to be locked up in the Epstein cell. We know she knows where it is. We know she knows how to get there when all the cameras are off. We know Hillary knows how to get into that cell. So just put her in there. Let's go. I want it to happen. But instead, because Republicans never fight fire with fire, because we never ever decide that we are not just the punching bag here, we never decide to fight back. We're always the punching bag. We allow these people to prosecute the president. Here's Fani Willis just straight up admitting, in court, I've already found you guilty, right? The judicious, clear-eyed prosecutor is supposed to be ponderous, is supposed to be somebody who allows the facts to lay out the case and then follows the facts. Instead, here's Fani Willis spitting, frothing at the mouth, saying, they rigged an election. Go.
So your office objected to us getting Delta records for flights that you may have taken with Mr. Wade.
No, look. I object to you getting records. You've been intrusive into people's personal lives. You're confused. You think I'm on trial. These people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020. I'm not on trial, no matter how hard you try to put me on trial.
So would you want that person prosecuting you? Really? And Fani Willis, of course, admits to misusing her campaign funds. This is, in and of itself, its own crime.
Whole life, when I took out a large amount of money on my first campaign, I kept some of the cash of that. To tell you I just have cash in my house. I don't have as much today.
So she just like, on my first campaign, I just took cash out of that. I just carried cash around in pillowcases. People. If we don't actually get a disqualification here, then I tell you what, there is no law in this country. There is no justice in this country. Fani Willis lied during her testimony. What is the result that should happen? Here, ladies and gentlemen, is the felony charges that should happen to Fani Willis. It should be her who's being prosecuted here in a just world. We'll see what happens in the state of Georgia. Watch.
I wonder, okay, so in that testimony, did she deny the start date of this affair?
Yes, she said it started in early of 2022. There was some discrepancy between them, a month or two here and there, whether it started. Generally, it was around March, is what Mr. Wade and Ms.
What are the
Willis.
consequences for an attorney to give sworn testimony that she did if you're Bradley, what is it, Yerke? Yerty, your Trackhawk data, your other independent verifications are found to be truthful?
It's a crime. It's a felony. You'd lose your license.
Okay.
It's perjury.
Same for Wade.
Yes. And we have rules that are one of the, outside of privilege and confidentiality, we cannot suborn perjury. So if I have a client who tells me I did it, I can't put them on the stand to say I didn't do it.
Okay.
I would lose my license over that. I cannot do that.
And
So we'll see. Again, just like everything, we'll step back and we'll see, ladies and gentlemen, what happens. We'll see what happens. But know that there is going to be an enormous amount of breaking news in the coming months and days. You need to stay connected with us. We encourage you to use Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is the cell phone service that we use in order to stay connected on the road. It's actually how we power our show when we are up and out. And we will be doing a lot of traveling. We will be mixing it up. I'm very excited about that. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny972Patriot to get free activation today when you use the offer code Benny. This is America's only conservative Christian wireless network. Join me and make the switch today. patriotmobile.com/Benny. So yesterday, there was a considerable amount of breaking news in the House. We had our first live impeachment hearing. All these impeachment hearings had happened behind closed doors. And the hearing didn't go great for Democrats. Got to tell you. It went very poorly for Democrats. But what was really great is you were able to see what happens when the theater kids take over Congress. That's what's really special about yesterday's hearing. You're able to see the depravity and the psychotic nature of the Democrat Party. And you're able to see the, quite frankly, embarrassment of guys like this. Here's a member of Congress showing up in a Vladimir Putin mask. Let's just play beside here. I don't need to hear what they say. Here's a guy showing up. Moskowitz is a member of Congress. His name's Jared Moskowitz. Where's he from, guys? Where's this guy from? This goofball showed up in a rubber mask. Not sure if this is like a personal fetish thing. He's from South Florida, Florida 23. So would be really great to figure out how we could get this guy out of Congress. Like, why the hell is a guy like this representing a state like Florida? Showing up in a rubber mask. In case you're wondering, the adults are back in charge. In case you're wondering, ladies and gentlemen, the adults are back in charge. Okay. So what did we learn from the Republicans, who had far more of a very sober and clear-eyed take on all of this? Because what you're looking at here are the obvious crimes of Joe Biden and his family selling out influence in America, selling out our country. I mean, that's very serious. Now, they have Joe Biden dead to rights, proven by, obviously, the witnesses for the Republicans. Tony Bobulinski was the star witness for the Republicans, and he was asked, of course, the question that we all want to know. Who is the big guy that Hunter Biden was holding the stake for the Chinese energy firm in? The answer, pretty simple.
Mr. Bobulinski, who's the big guy? Joe Biden. Are you sure about that? Because when...
Jordan, Joe Biden.
You sure? I'm 1,000% sure. Because when Hunter Biden did his deposition under oath, he said, I don't know who it is, even though he was copied on an email that said H will hold 10% for the big guy. You sure it's the big guy is Joe Biden? 1,000%.
So, okay, 1,000%. How is it that we are allowed to then continue to say that Joe Biden has done nothing wrong? Because Joe Biden selling off American natural gas to our foremost geopolitical and military enemy in the world, China, that seems to be treasonous, actually. And then Joe Biden owning a massive stake that presumably would be worth like hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. What has Joe Biden done to do that? Oh, he's used his office to leverage natural gas resources, precious resources that God gave America, to sell it to our enemy. How is that not treason? For the life of me, I don't know. Apparently, Hunter Biden also lied in his testimony, Tony Bobulinski exposing that.
Biden gave his transcribed interview on February 28th and lied throughout his testimony. Here's just one egregious example of Hunter's perjury. He lied to the committee on important details concerning his money demands and threats to CFC in text messages on July 30th and 31st, 2017. He leveraged his father's presence next to him in that infamous text to strong-arm CFC to paying Hunter immediately. Jim Biden also lied extensively throughout his transcribed interview on February 21st and perjured himself. An example of that, on page 100 of his transcript, Jim is asked specifically, do you recall having a meeting with Hunter Biden, Tony Bobulinski, and Joe Biden? Jim's response, absolutely not. The committee was so shocked by his perjury that they asked him the same question multiple times. Each time he denied meeting with me and Joe Biden. After the committee showed him text messages confirming that I met with Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and Jim Biden at the Beverly Hilton in May 2017, Jim Biden, with a former U.S. attorney lawyer sitting next to him, still denied that meeting took place. Hunter Biden, in his own transcribed interview, confirmed that that meeting took place. Hunter confirmed his uncle perjured himself in front of this committee. I'm simply here to tell the truth to the American people, and I'm
so tired of the dual rights as citizens that we have. All men are created equal, some of the first lines of our founding documents. Yet it really is remarkable the privilege that the Bidens are exerting here, that they can just lie with impunity. I mean, do you think if the Trump kids went in and just lied with impunity? Donald Trump sat for 20 hours of deposition. Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner. Do you think those people were caught into like demonstrable, provable lies that they'd be free today? Do you think that Democrats in Congress wouldn't have weaponized every power that they had to tell those, like, to send to the Department of Justice, like, criminal charges to get them locked up, and they wouldn't have been thrilled to lock up the president's kids? They would have done it. Hunter Biden didn't even show up yesterday. There's a reason why there's an empty chair, because Hunter Biden didn't show. Hunter Biden then was able to flip off and flaunt congressional subpoenas, and that's exactly what Peter Navarro went to jail for yesterday. Peter Navarro is in prison for 4 months for saying he's not going to adhere to the congressional subpoena of the January 6th committee. So can somebody explain to me what the difference is? Why is Hunter Biden not in prison right now? If that's the rule for Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon, then why isn't it the rule for Hunter Biden? It's enough to blackpill you a little bit on, sort of the differences in the nation and how everyone from Hunter Biden's orbit is all in prison. Isn't that amazing? All these people couldn't go because they were all in prison. A bunch of people couldn't show up to the hearing because they're in jail. They're physically in jail because of the crimes that they committed with the Bidens, yet the Bidens are running the flipping country. How is that? Oh, okay, I got it. Okay, the moment of enlightenment. The moment of enlightenment is that all organized governments are crime syndicates. That's it. And they love guys like Joe and Hunter Biden. They're their people. They're organized criminals. That's what Congress is. That's what our government's been, I think, for a long time. And the American people are waking up to it. That's what the American First Movement is. Here's a guy who's testifying yesterday from jail. Why is he in jail? Because of crimes he did at the direction of the Bidens. So why aren't the Bidens in prison? Here is the guy talking about like how the Biden crime family worked. Go.
It was not the only time I heard Hunter speak with his father for business reasons. I was present when Hunter called his father on May 4th, 2014 on a cell phone, put it on speaker mode to have him say hello to Yelena Baturina, a Russian oligarch and an investor in Rosemont projects, and her husband, Yuri Luskov, the former mayor of Moscow. Devin Archer was also there. Hunter said, well, I'm here with our friends. I told you we're coming to town, and we wanted to say hello. The vice president said hello, some pleasantries, and I hope you had safe travels, and then said, quote, okay, you be good to my boy. Hunter responded by saying, everything is good, and we are moving ahead. The vice president said something about, quote, being helpful, and Hunter ended the call by saying he was going to call his father later. Before this call, Hunter sat next to Yelena Baturina at a table, and I heard him speaking on business matters generally. A few days after this May 4th party, an email my lawyer provided to this committee shows that Devin had confirmed Ms. Baturina was committed to a, quote, hard order of $10 to $20 million in a burden investment banking client.
$10 to $20 million from the Russian oligarchs directly connected to Vladimir Putin. Wow. I thought Putin was a bad guy. But the Biden crime family was loving that sweet Russian ruble and that Chinese yuan. Man, they were like so excited to just shove their noses into it. Here are the guys, like this is bombshell bombshell testimony. Yet it goes off with a fizzle because my personal belief, there's a lot of people who want Joe Biden to run. Not from the Democrat side, but I think there's a lot of Republicans that want Joe Biden to actually stand on the ballot in 2024. I also think that this has taken too long and that they missed their window and that they actually should have been like very, very speedy with this. I think that like when you drag out news cycles like this, you are able to you're able to like really wear down the American public on this kind of stuff. So from a tactical perspective, I think that they've taken too long. But from the other perspective, and I admitted this yesterday on the show, like I kind of want Joe Biden. Joe Biden's in the weakest place that any president has ever been running for re-election in the modern times. Weaker than Jimmy Carter, weaker than George H.W. Bush. Donald Trump has a full 12 points on favorability on Joe Biden going into 2020, right? So, let's just like rip the bark off him, right? Let's just prove that Joe Biden was willing to do deals directly with Xi Jinping, which is what MTG proved yesterday. The guy should be in shackles for being a traitor. Watch.
Let me show you another message. This message doesn't call Zhang Chairman Zhang, does it? It just says the Chinese want to do business with the Bidens. As a matter of fact, it says both coming to be my partner, to be partners with the Bidens, with an S. He, Zhang, has implied that the number one has made it clear and available to him. Who is the number one?
The number one is Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping, the president of China? Yes or no? The leader of the Communist Party, the CCP?
Yes.
Is the number one?
Yes, that's the number one that Hunter was referencing in that message.
Oh, okay. So they're talking about doing deals with the communist chairman of China. How is it not traitors? How are these people not traitors? The entire Democratic Party apparatus, a reminder of how we got to this point. Joe Biden wanted to run for president in 2016. Barack Obama told him he's not allowed to run for president in 2016, and his consolation prize will be, I'll give you Ukraine and China to go launder money through, and Russia. And so those were handed over to Joe Biden on a platter from Barack Obama. And then Joe Biden goes about, and they thought that Joe Biden was done. You can go back to 2012 and get these Robin Williams clips of Robin Williams like making jokes about Joe Biden having dementia in 2012. Nobody ever thought this guy was ever going to run for anything ever again or ever be useful. He's a meat muppet. And so Joe Biden thought that Hillary Clinton would be president and he could just go make untold billions. They said they wanted to make billions, not millions, untold billions forever. That was the setup. This was the setup. Byron Donalds, of course, taking out the receipts and showing that Chinese cash did hit Joe Biden's bank account.
August 28th, Mr. Chairman, we have the withdrawal ticket from Lion Hall Group that is signed by Sarah Biden, who is the wife of Jim Biden, for $50,000 to withdraw from Lion Hall Group. I want to submit that withdrawal receipt for the record.
Without objection to ordered.
On September 3rd, on August 28th, actually, Mr. Chairman, we have the deposit reference into Sarah Jones Biden's account on the same day she withdrew it from Lion Hall. I want to submit
Without
that.
Without objection to ordered.
Last document. On September 3rd, 2007, from Sarah Biden's own personal account, there is a check that is written to Joseph Robinette Biden, Jr., the President of the United States today, for $40,000, signed loan repayment. A loan repayment, by the way, that Joe Biden's own personal accountant, Mr. Eric Schwerin, has no record for. I want to submit that for the record, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection to ordered.
To the members of the committee, it is clear that the source of this money came from CEFC, and that CEFC is a company that is directly linked to the CCP and actually the chairman of the CCP, the chairman of the Chinese Communist Party, Chairman Xi Jinping. With that, I yield.
Ladies and gentlemen, Republicans did their job yesterday. What difference will it make? I mean, what's going to be the difference maker here? I think that the base is well aware that Joe Biden's a criminal. I think that we're well aware that they've taken all this money and that there's no justice in our Justice Department. We're going to talk with Stephen Miller in 1 second about how do we restore that actually in a second Trump term. But this is, I think, the big takeaway, because the big takeaway isn't that Joe Biden's a criminal. We've known this for a long time. The big takeaway is just how unbelievably stupid Democrats are. We're not sure if this is a Photoshop of AOC wearing a helmet during the hearing, but we know that she deserved one because AOC, they're just listening to the Democrats' line of questioning. You truly fear for the future of the country. These people are deeply low information. They're low IQ, low wavelength. All right, AOC. Here, ladies and gentlemen, our favorite meme from yesterday.
What is the crime, sir? Specifically.
You asked me to answer.
RICO is not a crime. It is a category. What is the
It's a category of crime.
AOC starts off her questioning by going, have you ever seen Joe Biden do crimes? And the Republican witness goes, yeah. And she's like, well, which crimes? Well, here are the crimes. In fact, just play the first couple seconds. You got to see it. You got to see it. It's so low information. It does give you hope because you're like, man, these are the people we're fighting. Wow. Good for us. Look, well, we drew the lucky straw here. We got the golden ticket. This is who we're fighting against.
Bobulinski, I heard your opening statement. It's submitted to the record, part of our proceedings. I have a quick question. Simple. Is it your testimony today that you personally witnessed President Joe Biden commit a crime?
I believe the fact that he was sitting with me while I was putting together a business
Did you
deal,
witness the president commit a crime? Is it your testimony today?
Yes.
And what crime have you witnessed?
How much time do I have to go through it?
It is simple. You name the crime. Did you watch him steal something?
Corruption statutes, RICO and conspiracy.
What is it? What is the crime, sir? Specifically.
You asked me to answer the question. I answered the question.
No.
RICO, you're obviously not familiar with. Corruption
Excuse
statutes.
me, sir. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. RICO is not a crime. It is.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, the great Stephen Miller. wasn't planning on doing this, okay, Stephen? I wasn't planning on doing this, but RICO is not a crime, okay? Tell that to Fulton County.
Yes, we should all have the confidence in our lives, and especially in our arguments, to be as certain about anything as AOC is that RICO is not a crime. In her mind, you have to appreciate, she thought that was her gotcha moment. She was like, oh man, I got him now. She just said RICO, and RICO is not a crime. RICO, it's a category, like umbrella or a group of things.
I'm sure you were watching yesterday. I sort of understand. I understand sort of the tactic here, but I think a lot of Republicans want Joe Biden to be on the ballot in 2024, in November of 2024. Am I wrong?
Well, it's not up to Republicans. I mean, the bottom line is that the Joe Biden is going to be on the ballot unless the party forces him out, which seems unlikely, or his wife pressures him out, which seems unlikely, or he bows out, which seems unlikely, unless there's an unforeseen medical issue, which is certainly plausible given his age and overall condition. But even if the House were to impeach him and it came to the Senate, they're not anywhere near the threshold for removal. And obviously, we would like Joe Biden to be impeached. A part of the problem there is that the House Republican majority now is so slim that it would require complete unanimity amongst House Republicans. And all of my sources tell me that there is not, unfortunately, that unanimity because, as you know, there's always a few Republicans who are willing to die on a sword of their own making to protect Democrats.
So when you look, though, throughout the country, it does seem as though there's a lot of reason for hope. What's happening in Georgia is an absolute cluster. I mean, it's a proper dumpster fire. And we do regular shows on it because it's too entertaining. But speaking of dying on a sword of your own making, and who decided on this lady? Like who made the choice? Like, oh, this is the one we're gonna like pin all of our hopes and dreams on. Seems like a bold strategy, Cotton.
Yeah, well, part of the reason why I maybe don't share in others' optimism is because the left may not necessarily be the most talented or the most competent or the most brilliant, but they are the most ruthless. And oftentimes in history, ruthlessness wins, at least for a while. If that wasn't the case, then there would never be any bad guys in charge of anything anywhere. You know, I think a lot about, if anyone in your audience has ever read the book, it was originally called Wise Guys, and then it was renamed Goodfellas, which became the movie Goodfellas. One of the things that it talks about in the book about the mafia is that it says the mafia, they weren't the brightest guys or the smartest guys, the most talented guys or charming guys. What they had in common was their unrestrained brutality. And that's what made them so effective in being able to run this criminal syndicate, is that unlike most people, they were willing to do basically anything to settle any argument or any dispute anywhere all the time. And that, of course, created an environment of fear in others. The left operates on the same principle. They'll destroy you. They'll bankrupt you. They'll take your house. They'll take your money. They'll take your freedom. And so when you look at somebody in Georgia like Miss Willis, yes, it's extremely mockable. But as of now, no one is stopping her. But let's be very clear. The Republican Party of Georgia has done nothing to stop her. The statewide elected leadership in Georgia has done nothing to stop her. The legal system in Georgia has done nothing to stop her. As of now, it is a true fact that multiple people are going to stand trial in front of a highly partisan jury with a highly partisan prosecutor, and they will be in a fight for their lives and survival. And no one has interceded so far. This has happened in the broad view of the whole country, and no one has interceded to stop this injustice.
So that's a great point that you just made, because how do you defeat that type of ruthlessness and that type of brutality? How do you defeat the people that are willing to seize Donald Trump's skyscrapers in New York, in spite of what that's going to do to the culture of investment in New York? Why would anybody ever buy another skyscraper? Anyone. I don't, if you're a far left Marxist, it doesn't matter. Like, why would you ever invest in New York ever again? They're destroying themselves like all Marxists always do. And I suppose my question to you, Stephen, is when are Republicans going to realize that we have Republican district attorneys in Little Rock, Arkansas that are overseeing the Clinton Global Initiative? Maybe we should start investigating what's been going on there. There's probably some big questions about Haiti that I'd like answered. Maybe some questions about who paid for the Epstein flights. Like, when are Republicans going to fight fire with fire on these issues?
That's the key question. That's the point I always return to. So on what you said about why would anybody invest in New York, the thing to understand about Marxism in all of its iterations, including the American style Marxism, is that they will eventually, left to their own devices, and I'm borrowing someone else's expression here, but they will burn down the civilization to be king of the ashes. And that's where inevitably where it will lead. Any Marxist movement left to its own devices will persecute anyone and everyone, turn on itself, eat its own, destroy everything, because that's all it knows how to do is demolish. It cannot build. There's nothing left but rubble. And then they will fight over who gets to rule over the rubble. And that's just what it is. And so once you understand that, you realize that you're not dealing with a good faith debate between sincere groups of people, but you're dealing with an ideology that is like a fire engulfing what is good and what is noble, then the only solution to that is to muster as much strength in defense of the good as the radical left is ushering in to advance the sinister and the wicked and the unjust and the perverted and the deadly and dangerous. And so until you are, to your point, until you have Republican or conservative prosecutors that are willing to use their powers to the full extent, and the same across all of state government. I mean, for example, conservatives and Republicans, I should say, Republicans specifically, because they're not always conservative, Republicans control state legislatures all around this country. Very few of those state legislatures are doing anything of consequence or value. Only a handful of red states in this country are doing anything. I mean, for example, we've seen as an example of a Texas legislature doing something great. They passed this incredible law. Why isn't SB 4? Unfortunately, it's caught up in the courts. But why isn't every single red state criminalizing illegal immigration? Why is there one red state in this country that hasn't done it? Rather than all of them haven't done it, except for Texas. We're making it a crime to be in that state illegally, to do business in that state illegally, to work illegally, so that when you catch an illegal alien, you have a half dozen different criminal charges you can file against them. The right needs to either get serious about using government power to save this country, or there won't be a country to save. The fatal flaw of conservatism, which is embedded into it, is that because conservatism is suspicious, justly suspicious of government, that when conservatives gain power, they put all their energy figuring out how to do nothing. That is suicide. You have to, at some level, be willing to put your allies, put your friends, put your ideological brethren into government and expect them and hope that they will and demand that they use that power to turn the country back towards goodness and virtue. Because if your whole theory is we're going to put conservatives in government and then they'll all just do nothing and leave everybody alone, you will be conquered.
So you were obviously the author of some of the greatest Trump policies, specifically on the border and immigration. You've regularly posted on X about the plans for mass deportations. Donald Trump's talked about it during his speeches. How does that go if SB 4 can't be operable in Texas and get stopped, even when the Supreme Court says it can go forward? A court is just ready to stop it again. How does Donald Trump move forward with ensuring that the people who are in this country are actual citizens and are not criminals?
Well, the good news is that President Trump, on the day that he takes the oath of office, will have all of the power and authority that he needs to seal the border and stop the invasion. Congress has passed a great many immigration laws and other laws relating to national security over a period of many years, going all the way back to the John Adams presidency, that can be used to both seal the border and then expel all of the illegal aliens that Joe Biden has let in, which is, of course, an absolute must. It is a national security and national sovereignty imperative. By the way, if you don't expel them, then Biden wins, right? If Biden gets to bring them all in, and then all you do is stop new ones from coming in and leave all the ones he brought in here, who, of course, then will have U.S. citizen children, collect unlimited welfare, and become a extremely loyal voting bloc to the Democrat Party, be counted in all the censuses and everything else. You don't do that, Biden wins, Democrats win, lawlessness is rewarded and enshrined, and then will, of course, be repeated in the future. But those authorities are already in existence. And yes, you will have to fight and battle in the courts, and you have to fight and battle against left-wing state governments, but it will be done because you will be able to marshal the full power of the Department of Justice, the Department of Homeland Security, the agencies therein, the FBI, the DEA, the ATF, ICE, USCIS, Border Patrol, Customs, as well as the Department of Defense and all of its considerable assets, and the state National Guards, the National Guards of Florida, of Texas, Idaho, on through the whole country, Mississippi, Missouri, and you will be able to build a giant force of federal, state, and local assets to effectively end the border invasion without delay, and then repel newcomers and expel those already here.
Do you agree? Elon Musk made huge news this week, posting a video about effectively the scheme to create a new political class for the Democrat Party through illegal immigration and to allow these criminal aliens to vote then in the 2024 election. That's part of the plan. You agree with that? That's baked in.
There's broadly construed. There are three immediate objectives Democrats have with respect to open borders. And those are, one, this already happens. They're counted in the census, which means more congressional seats for states with illegal aliens and electoral college votes. California would have half of the electoral college votes it has right now, but for illegal immigration. Think about that.
Wow.
The electoral map, where this automatic giant behemoth of electoral college votes is delivered to the left immediately, is because of illegal immigration. Two, there's no citizenship verification to vote in American elections. Very few people realize this. If you ask for it, you get a form and it says, are you a citizen, yes or no? If you check the yes box, that is it. Every state that has tried to validate that, and the federal government does zero validation, has been blocked successfully in court, now going on for more than 20 years. This is a true statement without exaggeration. There's not a single state in this country where illegal aliens cannot vote simply by checking a box. And as you can imagine, the potential for massive fraud there is increased exponentially with mass mail-in voting. So if even a small percentage of Biden's illegal aliens fill out mail-in ballots, fill out ballots that go into drop boxes, etc., that would be outcome determinative in races up and down the ballot. Now, all it would take to stop this would be for the House to attach to a must-pass bill legislation requiring citizenship verification to vote in 2024. And the third thing is that as soon as they have the power and ability to do so, they would pass a law making all illegal aliens into full voting citizens. Had it not been for the fact that Joe Manchin is indeed he's a hardcore liberal. He's voted against us on almost everything of importance. But he did one thing that was noteworthy, which is that he refused to eliminate the filibuster. If he had voted to end the filibuster, they would have, in the first month of Biden's presidency, passed a full Citizenship and Voting Rights Act for all illegal aliens in the country. And they had the votes to do it, but for the fact that Manchin didn't agree to waive the filibuster. Manchin, by the way, he supports amnesty. He would have voted for the bill. He just didn't vote to get rid of the filibuster. So those three things are the primary reasons why Democrats want an open border. There are many others. We don't have time to go into them all, but those are the three big ones.
You have obviously Donald Trump's ear. And the final question I have for you, Stephen, is can you outline a sort of a day one strategy? Because people are, I know it's overused, but a lot of people are like, it's the most important election of your lifetime. I think people feel it, really, this time. 4 years of Biden has shown us that we are on, as you just described, a razor's edge, a dental thread away from having the nation lost forever. What does the Donald Trump administration do? And we have been covering the new Ted Cruz as Attorney General, right? Some of the reporting that's been rolling out about who he would pick in his cabinet positions. That's crucially important. As somebody who served there with Trump, can you give us sort of a fast forward?
Well, I don't want to make any news today beyond what's already been announced, but what I can say that that comes from a personal experience and knowledge is that President Trump, on day one of a new administration, will launch the most effective, complete, and total reclamation of government for the American people that you can possibly imagine. Every rogue agency, every rogue department, every rogue sub-agency and component of government that has been brought into service of the radical left, that has been weaponized against the people, that has been weaponized against our liberties, our freedoms, our Constitution, will be reclaimed and redirected in defense of and in service of the American people against the forces that are trying to demolish Western civilization. And it will happen as surely as the sun rises in the morning if enough people get out and vote, not just in November, but in the weeks-long process leading up to November. And you can take that to the bank.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Miller, the number of plaudits and the amount of respect that we have for Stephen Miller on this program, it's unquantifiable. The guy, quite literally, every Trump policy that you liked in term one, you can thank Stephen for that.
Well, let's just say I was a helping hand. I was a helping hand, and I was proud to serve.
And you were giving Xi Jinping a hand right here in your X cover image. Look at that. Does he have a firm handshake, Stephen?
He actually, but I just think it's because handshakes are sort of an American thing, aren't they? He had, I would say, a medium grip.
Medium grip. Okay. No bowing, handshakes in the Trump administration, right? Yes, that's right. Yes. No bowing. So we have Stephen Miller. America First Legal is obviously it's Stephen's organization, and it is the best. Every time you hear a good news cycle about what's happening legally in this country, it's because of Stephen Miller and his incredible organization. Please support them and follow Stephen. Look at that. On his way to 1 million, baby. On his way to 1 million. Let's go. 600,000 people can't be wrong. Stephen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
What a powerful cover pick, says ALX. Yes. What a powerful cover pick. He had a medium grip. Hopefully that doesn't create any diplomatic problems. Xi Jinping had a medium grip. Yes. Actually, it's always like, I always want to go another like 10 hours when we have Stephen Miller on the show. Like, I want to ask questions like, what did he say to you? Right? Like, probably didn't get like a long conversation, but maybe. What's going on here? I want to know more about it, actually. Long form with Stephen Miller, ALX, next time. Long form, ALX and Robbie, booking the show. Long form with Stephen Miller next time. I've got to ask questions about this one. That's just a good one. A medium grip. Going to create an international... China's going to invade Taiwan now, after hearing Stephen Miller say that the dictator has a medium grip. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So we are... really excited about the direction of the country. Stephen Miller obviously is somebody who sees things with extreme clarity and who understands what's at stake. And it's something to sort of look clearly at and to realize that what's the old saying? Like, we're only ever one generation away. We're only ever one generation away from totalitarianism. I think that's either a Reagan or a Kennedy saying. But it is true nonetheless. We are only ever one generation away, and that totalitarianism is always and has always been at our doorstep. Go study American history. We've hundreds of thousands of millions of Americans have died to prevent it from seeping into your children's lives. But little did we know the reason why the president swears on the Bible and says, "I'll protect you from enemies foreign and domestic, that the enemies were here all along. The mind virus of Marxism. So, ladies and gentlemen, help us fight them. Join the Benny Brigade today, bennyjohnson.com. Just click join the Benny Brigade. By doing that, you help support our program and you help keep us free and independent. We want to be able to do 8-hour lives like we did yesterday. We just checked. We've been live for 60 hours over the last 28 days. We've been live for 60 hours. So a considerable portion of the number of hours we've been live for. So please, ladies and gentlemen, consider supporting us. We know that obviously times are tough right now in Joe Biden's economy. We thank you simply for watching, and to prove our thanks and appreciation for you, our verse of the day, which is the best thing we can possibly give to you, actually, is like the real truth. Sometimes we speculate on things, right? This is the real truth. From 2 Samuel. For you equipped me with strength for battle. You made those who rise against me sink under me. You made my enemies turn their backs to me. Those who hated me, and I destroyed them. Woo! Good Old Testament fire and brimstone in your gut. You'll love it. You equipped me with strength for battle, ladies and gentlemen. And my enemies fell, and I destroyed them. Please, we are asking for this right now. Like let that be the championing cry for our cause. Please go back and look through American history. Go back and look through world history. Go back and read your Bible. Right? Like there's a lot of causes that seem like they're totally lost. And all it takes is one good man. All it takes is one good person of faith to stand up, and God will save us. God will save us. And you have that confidence, and if you believe in that confidence, you can move mountains. And that's what we do on this program. We move mountains. We march together. Happy warriors cannot be defeated. It's your boy, Benny. See ya.